For most brides, the morning after the wedding is supposed to be a cocoon of safety, wrapped in the warmth of a new life. They feel cherished, secure. I woke up to a phone call that took a sledgehammer to my world in less time than it takes to boil water. My husband, Ethan, was in the shower. I could hear the rhythmic spray of water against the tile and the low hum of some tune he was butchering. We had been Mr. and Mrs. Vance for fewer than 24 hours. I was perched on the edge of the plush hotel bed, still wrapped in my silk pajamas, watching dust motes dance in the sunbeam, slicing through the curtains. I felt a profound sense of peace. Then, my phone vibrated on the bedside table. It was a local number I didn't recognize. My usual habit is to ignore those calls, but an instinct I couldn't explain made me swipe to answer. "Mrs. Vance?" a grave voice inquired. It was Mr. Davies, the manager of the Willow Creek Inn, the elegant venue where we'd held our reception just the night before. "It's Mrs. Vance now," I corrected him, a smile touching my lips at the sound of my new identity. "Listen to me very carefully, Chloe," he said. His tone had shifted. It was stripped of all pleasantries. "I need you to return to the inn right now. Do not tell your husband. You must come alone. We found something on the security recording from last night that you have to see for yourself." The warmth and happiness evaporated from my body, replaced by an icy dread. The room suddenly felt 10 degrees colder. As the sound of the shower cut off behind me, I knew, with a gut-wrenching certainty, that my marriage was already a ruin. Before we get into the heart of this, do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I'd love to hear from you. To truly grasp why that phone call felt like the ground had opened up beneath me, you need to understand who Ethan was, or more accurately, who I was convinced he was. I met Ethan Vance 6 months ago. It was a drizzly Tuesday afternoon, and I was in my sanctuary, a quiet, slightly musty bookstore on a corner of Elm Street. I've always been a creature of habit and peace. I teach 4th grade. I thrive on order and routine. My life was structured and simple, but in the quiet hours of the night, it often felt profoundly lonely. I was in the history aisle, searching for a book on ancient Rome for my father, when I sensed a presence beside me. "That's a rather serious subject for a gray afternoon," a voice remarked. I glanced up, and there he was. He wasn't movie star handsome, not in that blinding, unrealistic way. His was a more grounded appeal. He had kind hazel eyes, dark brown hair that was perfectly in place, and he wore a simple gray cashmere sweater. He looked dependable. That was the first word that my mind supplied. Dependable. "It's for my dad," I mumbled. "He has excellent taste," the man replied with a warm smile. "I'm Ethan. I'm Chloe." We ended up talking right there in the aisle for a solid 20 minutes. Normally, I'm awkward and tongue-tied around new men. I clam up, my mind a blank slate. But with Ethan, it was effortless. He didn't bore me with tales of his expensive car or his investment portfolio. He actually listened. He asked about my job, my students, the books I loved. He then invited me for coffee at the cafe next door. As we sat by the window watching the rain streak down the glass, he told me he was a financial analyst. He said he was drawn to numbers because they were logical. They never lied. "I value clarity," he told me, his gaze direct and unwavering. "I want to build things that are meant to last." I absorbed every word like a dry sponge. After a long history of disastrous dates, men who ghosted, and guys who were only after one thing, Ethan felt like a roaring fireplace on a snowy night. He felt like the grown-up I had been waiting for my entire life. We began dating almost immediately, and he was, in a word, perfect. He sent me a good morning text every single day at 7 a.m. sharp. He held every door open for me. He'd bring me flowers for no reason other than it was a Wednesday. My friends were green with envy. "He's a keeper, Chloe," they'd gush. "Don't you dare mess this up." My parents, however, were a different story. 2 months into our whirlwind romance, I brought Ethan home for dinner to meet Karen and David Peterson. My parents are good people, but they're pragmatists. My dad, a retired contractor, has a protective streak a mile wide. The four of us sat around their dining table, the air thick with the smell of my mom's pot roast and unspoken tension. "So, Ethan," my dad began, slicing his meat with surgical precision, "you've known our Chloe for what, 8 weeks? And you're already dropping hints about marriage?" Ethan didn't even blink. He placed his fork down gently and met my father's intense gaze. "Sir, I understand it appears fast, but when you know, you just know. Chloe is the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. I have a stable career, I have savings. I want to provide for her." My mom, Karen, just looked worried. "Chloe is very sensitive, Ethan. We just don't want to see her heart get broken. Perhaps you should just take things a little slower." "I would never hurt her," Ethan said, his voice a pillar of sincerity, so firm, so utterly convincing. Beneath the table, his hand found mine and gave it a reassuring squeeze. I squeezed back, a surge of defensiveness rising in my chest. Why couldn't they just be happy for me? Why did they always have to search for the catch? "I trust him, Dad," I said, my voice firm. "He's a good man." Ethan gave me a soft, almost melancholy smile, a smile that communicated, "It's all right. I understand their concern." And that, of course, just made me love him more. I became fiercely determined to prove my parents wrong, to show them that Ethan was my destiny. He was always talking about our future. He'd paint these vivid pictures of a house with a sprawling garden, of 2 children, a boy and a girl. He spoke constantly of stability. That was his favorite word. "I had a turbulent childhood, Chloe," he confessed one evening as we sat in my car. "My parents were always at each other's throats. I swore to myself that my marriage would be a haven. It would be a true partnership, just you and me against the world. And I bought into it, every last word, because I was desperate for it to be true. I was 33 years old. Ethan was handing me my dream life on a silver platter. So when he got down on one knee just 4 months after we met, I didn't hesitate for a second. I didn't dwell on how little I truly knew about his history. I didn't question why I'd never met any of his old friends, who he claimed he'd simply drifted away from. I just saw the sparkling diamond, the man kneeling before me, and the promise of a happy ending. I said yes. I threw myself into wedding planning. My parents eventually warmed up, though my dad's eyes still narrowed with suspicion whenever Ethan was around. But I chose to ignore it. I wrote it off as a father being overprotective. I was wrong. My dad was trusting his gut. I was trusting my heart, and my heart was utterly blind. The wedding was yesterday. We'd picked the Willow Creek Inn for its intimate, rustic charm. It wasn't some gaudy, cavernous hall. It was a beautiful restaurant with exposed brick, warm, low lighting, and an incredible menu. I remember standing in the small bridal suite just before the ceremony. My dress was ivory lace, simple and elegant, just like me. Looking in the mirror, I didn't see a fool. I saw a bride. I saw a woman who had finally gotten her fairy tale. Megan Riley was my maid of honor. We'd been inseparable since our college days. Megan was my polar opposite, loud, hilarious, and always the life of the party. "You look decent," Megan commented, standing behind me, fussing with her own hair in the reflection. "Just decent?" I asked, letting out a nervous laugh. You know what I mean, she said, not smiling. She seemed distracted, her eyes constantly darting to her phone. You look amazing, Chloe. Ethan's going to lose it. Are you all right, Meg? I asked. You seem a bit on edge. I just need a cocktail, she said, her laugh sounding brittle and sharp, almost cruel. I brushed it aside. That was just Megan being dramatic. The ceremony was breathtaking. As I walked down the aisle, I saw Ethan waiting for me, looking impossibly handsome in his tux. He had tears welling in his eyes. When I reached him, he took my hands in his. His were so warm. You're stunning, he whispered. We exchanged our vows. I promised to love him through sickness and health. He promised to cherish me always. Every word felt profound and true. When the officiant declared, "You may now kiss the bride," Ethan kissed me with a passion that made the whole room erupt in cheers. I felt like I was floating on air. The reception began immediately in the main dining room. The tables were adorned with white linens and flickering candles. The ambiance was perfect, but as the evening progressed, a series of small, discordant notes began to spoil the melody. It started during our first dance. We were swaying to a slow, romantic ballad. Ethan was holding me close, his face nestled in my neck. It should have felt incredibly romantic. Then, looking over Ethan's shoulder, I spotted Megan. She was by the bar, not watching us dance, but watching Ethan. She had a peculiar expression, a look that wasn't a smile. It was a look of possession. She raised her champagne flute slightly, her gaze fixed on the back of his head. As the song faded, Ethan pulled away. I need to get some air, he said, looking a little flushed. Are you okay? I asked. Just a bit warm, he replied. All these people. I'll be right back. He headed toward the bar. I watched as Megan turned and walked down the hallway that led to the restrooms and the back office. Ethan didn't follow her right away, but about a minute later, he headed in the exact same direction. I sat down at our head table, a tiny knot of unease forming in my stomach. I told myself I was being ridiculous. Don't be paranoid, Chloe. They're just using the restroom. They're friends. But 20 minutes ticked by. Guests were coming up to our table, offering congratulations. Where's the groom? My Aunt Carol asked. Oh, he just stepped out for a moment, I lied, my stomach starting to churn. 20 minutes is a long time to be gone from your own wedding reception. I scanned the room. My parents were on the dance floor, my friends were laughing, but the chair beside me remained conspicuously empty. Finally, I saw Ethan emerge from the hallway. He was walking briskly, tugging at his tie, his face slick with sweat. A moment later, Megan followed. She had freshened her lipstick. It was a brazen fire engine red, and she was smiling now, a wide, triumphant grin that didn't quite reach her eyes. She went straight to the bar and ordered a shot of tequila. Ethan sat down beside me. He took my hand and kissed it. His skin was cold and clammy. Where were you? I asked, trying to keep my tone light. People were asking for you. I'm so sorry, babe, he said, his expression one of pure stress. I got a work call, an emergency with the Harrison account. I had to take it. You know how demanding they can be. I didn't want to kill the mood, so I stepped into the back. On our wedding night? I pressed. You took a work call? I had to, Chloe. It's for our future. I'm doing all this for us. He gave me that wounded puppy dog look he knew I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. Forgive me? I looked at him. I wanted to be the supportive, understanding wife. I wanted to be the partner who appreciated his hard work. It's okay, I said softly. Just don't leave me alone again. Never, he promised. Later, around 10 p.m. Things got even stranger. Megan, now visibly drunk, sauntered over to our table. She leaned over Ethan, placing a hand on his shoulder, her fingers lingering there for far too long. "You're a lucky man, Ethan," she purred, her eyes fixed on him, "not me." "I know I am," Ethan replied. He didn't pull away. He didn't shrug her hand off. He just sat there, rigid, letting her touch him. "Chloe is such a sweet girl," Megan said, finally turning her gaze to me. Her eyes were glassy. So sweet, so predictable. "Megan, you're drunk," I said, forcing a laugh. "Maybe you should switch to water." "I'm fine," she snapped, then laughed again. "I'm just so happy for you, too." "Really? It's quite a little setup you've got here." She winked at Ethan, a slow, deliberate, conspiratorial wink. Ethan cleared his throat. "Megan, maybe you should go sit down." She patted his cheek, actually patted his cheek. "Whatever you say, boss." She swayed away in her heels. A chill ran down my spine. "What was that all about?" I asked Ethan. "She's wasted," he said, shaking his head. "Don't mind her. She's just jealous because you're happy and she's perpetually single." That seemed plausible. Megan was always complaining about her love life. I felt a pang of pity for her. Poor Megan, she was just lonely and making a fool of herself. The rest of the night was a whirlwind. We cut the cake. We tossed the bouquet. We made our grand exit under a canopy of sparklers. Ethan drove us to the hotel. He was sweet, attentive, and affectionate. He carried me over the threshold of our suite. He told me he loved me. We fell asleep, tangled in each other's arms. For a few blissful hours, everything was perfect. I was Mrs. Chloe Vance. I had a husband who worked tirelessly for our future. I had a best friend who, despite being a little messy, loved me. I had a condo that Ethan and I were going to make our home together. I drifted off to sleep, believing I had finally gotten everything I had ever wanted. Then the morning came. Then came the phone call while Ethan was in the shower. "Come alone," Mr. Davies had said. "Don't tell your husband." Now, sitting on that hotel bed, the memories of the previous night were replaying in my mind. But this time they were tainted. Ethan's sweat-sheened face, the way Megan's hand had lingered on his shoulder, the work call that lasted 20 minutes, the wink. It wasn't just a series of awkward moments anymore. It was smoke. And where there's smoke, there's always fire. I stood up, my legs feeling like jelly. "Who was that?" Ethan called from the bathroom as the water shut off. I froze. I had to think fast. If I told him the inn had called, he'd be suspicious. He'd insist on coming. He'd want to know everything. And Mr. Davies had been very clear. Come alone. I cleared my throat, forcing my voice into a semblance of normalcy. "It was the front desk," I lied. They said there was an issue with the credit card on file for the room. I have to pop down to the lobby and sort it out." "You want me to go?" Ethan asked. I heard the shower door slide open. "No," I said, a little too quickly. I took a breath. "No, you just relax. You drove all last night. I'll just run down, handle it, and grab us some coffee on my way back. You stay in bed." "You're the best," he called out. "I love you, Chloe. I love you too," I replied, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. I grabbed my purse and keys, avoiding a glance at the bathroom door. I slipped out of the hotel room, closing the door silently behind me. As I walked to the elevator, my heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in my ears. I felt sick. I got in my car and pointed it toward the Willow Creek Inn. The morning sun was brilliant, but my world had plunged into darkness. I had no idea what I was about to see on that security footage. But I knew one thing with chilling certainty. The man I had left in that hotel room was a stranger. I just didn't know how deep the deception truly ran. The 15-minute drive to the Willow Creek Inn felt like an eternity. My hands were trembling so violently that I had to clench the steering wheel until my knuckles were white. At every red light, a powerful urge to turn back washed over me. I wanted to go back to the hotel, crawl into bed next to my husband, and pretend this was all a nightmare. But I couldn't. I kept picturing Mr. Davies's grave tone. He was a professional. He wouldn't have made that call unless it was serious. As I drove, my mind frantically replayed the last 6 months, searching for the breadcrumbs I had missed. And my thoughts kept circling back to the one major asset I possessed that Ethan did not: my condo. I own a beautiful 2-bedroom condo downtown, a legacy from my grandmother, Nana Rose, who passed away 3 years ago. It was completely paid off. No mortgage, no rent. In today's market, a debt-free property in the city is a golden ticket. It was my financial safety net, the sole reason a 4th-grade teacher could live comfortably. When I first started dating Ethan, I was vague about my living situation. I let him believe I was renting. I'd learned to be cautious, but about 3 months in, I finally brought him over. I'll never forget the look on his face. He took in the high ceilings, the gleaming hardwood floors. He walked over to the large picture window and gazed at the park below. "This place is incredible, Chloe," he'd said. "Who's your landlord? They must be charging a fortune." "Actually," I said, a little puff of pride in my chest, "I own it. My grandmother left it to me. It's all mine." Ethan fell silent. He turned around slowly, his eyes wide with something I mistook for awe. "You own this?" he asked, free and clear. "Yes," I confirmed. A huge, brilliant smile spread across his face. He strode over and swept me up in a hug. "That is amazing, babe. That's security. That's a real future. You are so smart." I thought he was just happy for me. I didn't see the gears turning behind his eyes. From that day forward, the condo became a recurring theme in our conversations, but he was always so slick about it. He never made demands. He never said, "I want half." Instead, he wrapped his intentions in the language of partnership and teamwork. One night, about a month before the wedding, we were on the living room floor eating pizza and talking about our finances. Ethan had a legal pad out. "I want to take care of you, Chloe," he said, drawing a little diagram. "I want to pay all the bills, handle the utilities. I want you to be able to save your entire salary for our future children." "That's incredibly sweet, Ethan," I said, "but I can contribute." "I know you can," he said, his voice soft and earnest. "But marriage is about creating equity. It's about 2 people becoming one. Legally speaking, if we live here and I'm pouring money into renovations and expenses, it can get messy. A lawyer friend of mine said it's always cleaner for both partners if major assets are shared. It's a way to protect you too in case anything ever happened to me." He looked so genuinely concerned. He framed putting his name on the deed as an act of protection for me. "I don't care about the money," he insisted, looking directly into my eyes. "I just don't want to feel like a guest in your home. I want to feel like your husband." That was the line that hooked me. I don't want to feel like a guest. Guilt twisted inside me. I didn't want him to feel that way. "Okay," I had said. "After the wedding, we can see a lawyer. We'll add your name to the deed." "Are you sure?" he'd asked, feigning hesitation. "I'm sure," I replied. "We're a team." He kissed me gently. "We're a team. Forever." Now, driving down the street with tears blurring my vision, a horrifying thought crystallized. The appointment with the real estate attorney was set for next Tuesday, 3 days from now. If I had signed those papers, Ethan would legally own half of my home. In a divorce, he could force a sale and walk away with half the proceeds. We were talking about $250,000. My stomach lurched. Could it be possible? Was the whole thing, The romance, the flowers, the proposal, just an elaborate 6-month con to get his name on a title. I pulled into the parking lot of the Willow Creek Inn. My car was the only one there, aside from a black sedan parked near the back entrance. The inn looked drab and lifeless in the harsh morning light. All the magic of the previous night had vanished. I killed the engine and took a steadying breath. You have to know, I told myself. Whatever it is, you have to see it. I opened the door and stepped out into the cool morning air. I smoothed down the t-shirt and jeans I'd hastily thrown on. I felt exposed and small. I walked to the back service entrance where Mr. Davies was waiting. He was leaning against the doorframe smoking a cigarette. He saw me, dropped it, and ground it out with his shoe. He wasn't smiling. "Mrs. Vance," he said, his face etched with fatigue. "Please," I said, my voice thin and reedy. "Just call me Chloe. Come inside, Chloe." Mr. Davies led me through the cavernous kitchen. The air smelled of bleach and stale coffee. We passed the gleaming stainless steel counters where the chefs had crafted my wedding feast just hours before. The place felt haunted. He led me into a small, cluttered office in the back, packed with filing cabinets and a desk holding 3 computer monitors. A single wooden chair had been pulled out for me. "Sit down," he said gently. I sat, my knees trembling. Mr. Davies sank into his large leather chair and hesitated, looking at me with an expression of profound pity. I hated that look. It was confirmation that my world was about to end. "We have security cameras throughout the property," Mr. Davies began. "It's an insurance requirement. Most guests are aware of the ones in the main hall, but we also have them in the service corridors near the loading dock and in the supply office. We had a few instances of theft last year, so we upgraded to a system that records high-definition audio as well." He swiveled toward the monitors. "Last night, after everyone had gone home, I was doing my standard review of the footage to ensure the closing crew had done their jobs properly," he said. "I came across something at timestamp 9:43 p.m. This was, I believe, during your father's toast, or maybe during one of the dances." "It was the father-daughter dance," I whispered. "Ethan was gone. He told me he had a work call." Mr. Davies nodded grimly. "Right, a work call." He clicked the mouse a few times. "I'm going to play the footage now. I need you to brace yourself, Chloe." He then turned his back to the screen and started to play it. The screen lit up, showing a black and white wide-angle shot of a storage hallway. A few seconds later, Ethan walked into the frame. He leaned against a stack of boxes, looking impatient. He pulled out a cigarette and lit it. My mind reeled. I didn't even know Ethan smoked. A moment later, Megan walked into the frame. My heart seized. She didn't approach him like a friend. She sauntered right up to him, stepping confidently between his legs. Ethan didn't move. He smirked, a cruel, arrogant expression I had never seen before. He took a drag from his cigarette and then passed it to Megan. She took a puff and blew the smoke playfully in his face. "Is the coast clear?" Megan's voice, crisp and clear on the recording, filled the small office. "Yeah," Ethan said. "The old man is having his little cry on the dance floor with her. It's pathetic." "We have 10 minutes, Max." Megan laughed, a low, throaty sound. She reached up and straightened his tie. "You're a damn good actor, babe. I almost believed you were in love with her up there." "Don't be disgusting," Ethan scoffed. "God, she's so exhausting, so needy. Do you love me, Ethan? Am I pretty, Ethan?" He mimicked my voice in a high-pitched, whiny tone. It was a vicious, cruel caricature. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I clamped my hand over my mouth. "It's almost over," Megan cooed. She leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't a quick peck. It was a long, deep, familiar kiss. the kiss of a couple who had done this 1,000 times before. "So, what's the timeline?" Ethan asked, pulling away and checking his watch. "We stick to the plan," he said, his voice now cold and all business. "We go on the honeymoon. I play the doting husband. On Tuesday, we go to the lawyer and sign the papers for the condo. Once my name is on that deed, I own half. Legally." "And then?" Megan asked. "Then I start the arguments," Ethan said with a smug grin. "I become distant. I make her life a living hell. I give it 6 months. She's soft, Megan. She'll crumble. She'll be the one to file for divorce because she can't handle the conflict. I'll generously agree to split the assets. We sell the condo, I walk away with my 50%, and you and I are $250,000 richer." "She has no idea?" Megan asked. "None," Ethan laughed. A cold, hollow sound. "She thinks she hit the jackpot. She's so grateful for the tiniest scraps. I bought her a $10 bouquet from a gas station last week, and she cried. She's boring, she's predictable, and she is completely under my control." "You're a bad man," Megan giggled. "I'm a smart man," Ethan corrected her. "Now mess up my hair a bit. I need to look flustered when I go back out. I'll tell her it was a work emergency." Megan reached up and ruffled his dark hair. She undid the top button of his shirt. "Go get him, Tiger," she purred. Ethan turned to go, then stopped and looked back at her. "I love you, Meg. Just hang in there." 6 more months. "I love you too," she replied. The screen went black. Mr. Davies swiveled around in his chair. He didn't speak. He simply pushed a box of tissues toward me. I didn't take one. I just sat there, encased in ice. I thought I would be hysterical. I thought I would be screaming and sobbing. But I felt something else entirely. The sadness was there, of course. A crushing weight on my chest. The man I thought I loved was a fiction, a character played by a skilled actor. My best friend was a viper. But beneath that profound sorrow, a different emotion was igniting. Something hot, something sharp. Rage. They called me boring. They called me predictable. They called me soft. They saw me as a gullible mark, a stepping stone to a big payday. Ethan had said, "She thinks she hit the jackpot." He was wrong. He was the one who thought he'd won. He thought the check was already in his hand. I stood up slowly. My legs were steady now. "Can I get a copy of that?" I asked. My voice sounded foreign to me. It was low, firm, and devoid of tears. Mr. Davies looked taken aback by my composure. "I already put it on a thumb drive for you. It's right here." He handed me a small silver flash drive. I closed my hand around it. It felt solid and cold in my palm. "Thank you, Mr. Davies," I said. "You've saved my life." "What are you going to do?" he asked. "Are you calling the police?" "No," I said. "Being a monster isn't a crime. The police can't help me with this." I walked to the door of the office, then paused and looked back at the blank monitors. "They said I was predictable," I said, more to myself than to him. "I think it's time I tried being unpredictable." I walked out of the office. The sun was high in the sky, but the world looked entirely different. The fairy tale was over. This was a war. I got into my car and put the key in the ignition. I didn't drive back to the hotel. I didn't drive to find Ethan. I drove to my parents' house. Ethan wanted a performance. He wanted to play a game. Fine. Game on. I pulled into the driveway of the little white house with blue shutters where I grew up. My dad was in the yard, washing his truck. It was such a perfectly normal Saturday morning scene. He looked up, a big grin spreading across his face, and waved. He thought I was stopping by to regale them with stories from my wedding night. He thought I was on top of the world. When I stepped out of the car, his smile vanished. "Chloe," he said, dropping the sponge. "Honey, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." I didn't say a word. I just brushed past him and went inside. "Come inside, Dad. And get Mom." My mom was in the kitchen, pouring coffee. She turned around, her face beaming. "The bride returns. How was—" She stopped mid-sentence when she saw my expression. "Oh my God, Chloe, what happened?" "Sit down," I commanded. "Both of you, in the living room, now." They sat on the familiar beige sofa where we'd watched countless movies together as a family. I stood in front of the television, my hands shaking again, but this time it was with adrenaline, not fear. I plugged the USB drive into the side of their smart TV. "I need you to watch this," I said, "and I need you to promise me you won't make a sound until it's over." "Chloe, is Ethan okay?" my mom asked, her voice filled with dread. "Was there an accident?" "There was no accident," I said flatly. "Just watch." I hit play. I watched my parents as they watched the video. I saw the confusion on their faces as Ethan and Megan appeared on screen. I saw that confusion morph into shock when they lit the cigarette. Then the audio kicked in. "She's boring, she's predictable, and she is completely under my control." My mom gasped, her hands flying to her mouth, tears instantly springing to her eyes. She looked as though she'd been slapped across the face. Then came the part about the plan, the condo, the divorce. "I walk away with my 50%, and you and I are $250,000 richer." My dad didn't gasp. He turned a deep, alarming shade of crimson. The veins on his neck stood out in sharp relief. He shot to his feet so fast he slammed his shin into the coffee table, but he didn't even notice. "I'm going to kill him," my dad said, his voice a low, trembling growl. "I am going to drive to that hotel, and I am going to kill him." He meant it. My dad is 62, but he's built like a rock, and at that moment he was fully prepared to go to prison for me. "David, stop," my mom cried. "No," my dad roared. "He used her. He's trying to steal her home." I knew he was a snake. I knew it. "Dad," I yelled, my voice cracking through the rage. "Stop." I moved to block the front door. "Move, Chloe," he snarled. "He is not getting away with this." "He won't," I said, looking him straight in the eye. "But if you go over there and beat him up, what happens? You go to jail. He sues us. He gets to play the victim. He'll tell everyone my crazy old dad attacked him for no reason. He wins." My dad stopped, his chest heaving. "So what? We just let him take the condo?" "No," I said. A chilling calm descended over me. It was a strange, unfamiliar sensation. I'd always been the quiet one, the peacemaker, the predictable one. But Ethan had been right about one thing. I valued clarity, and right now, things were crystal clear. "We're not going to use our fists," I said. "We're going to use the truth." I walked back to the TV and pulled the USB drive out. "Ethan thinks I'm stupid," I said. "He thinks I'm soft. He thinks he's already won. That's his weakness. He's arrogant." "What are you going to do?" my mom asked, wiping her eyes. "He wants a show," I said. "I'll give him one. He loves being the center of attention. He loves it when people tell him how wonderful he is." I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was 11 a.m. "I'm going back to the hotel," I announced. "I'm going to tell him I want to host a special thank you dinner tonight before we leave for our honeymoon tomorrow. I'm going to invite the wedding party and his parents back to the Willow Creek Inn for drinks and appetizers. A small, intimate gathering to celebrate." "Why?" my dad asked, his face a mask of confusion. "Because," I said, clutching the flash drive tightly in my hand, "I want witnesses. If I confront him alone, he'll just lie. He'll gaslight me and tell me I'm being hysterical. But if I play this video in front of his mother, in front of his father, in front of his best friends—" "He can't hide," Dad whispered, a slow nod of understanding. "He can't spin it." "Exactly," I said. He wants to humiliate me over 6 months. I'm going to destroy his entire life in 6 hours. My mom stood up and wrapped me in a fierce hug. She was trembling. You are so brave, honey. I don't know how you can go back there and face him. I can do it, I said, my voice hard as steel. Because the man I thought I loved is gone. The man in that hotel room is just a common thief, and I don't waste tears on thieves. Driving back to the hotel was a completely surreal, out-of-body experience. I felt like an actress stepping onto a stage, preparing for the role of a lifetime. I had to become the Chloe that Ethan believed I was, sweet, a little naive, and utterly besotted. I made a strategic stop at a coffee shop and bought 2 lattes and a bag of pastries. They were my props. When I walked back into the hotel suite, Ethan was sprawled on the bed, watching a basketball game. He looked so infuriatingly relaxed, a man without a single care in the world. It made my blood boil, but I plastered a bright smile on my face. I'm back, I chirped. Ethan looked up. Hey, babe, everything sorted with the card? All taken care of, I lied smoothly. Just a little glitch with the bank. I brought you coffee. He took the cup. You're the best. Come here. He patted the space on the bed next to him. I sat down. He leaned in to kiss me. This was the most difficult part. I had to let him touch me. As his lips met mine, all I could see was the video. I could see him sharing that cigarette with Megan. I could hear him calling me exhausting. I fought back a wave of nausea and kissed him back, keeping it brief. Ethan, I said, pulling away. I was thinking, yeah? Last night was such a whirlwind, I said. I feel like we didn't get a chance to properly thank everyone, especially your parents and Megan. They did so much for us. We can send thank you cards, Ethan said, taking a sip of his latte. I know, I said, but I had this idea. Since our flight isn't until tomorrow morning, why don't we do something spontaneous tonight? I called Mr. Davies at the inn, and he said the private dining room is available. I want to throw a little thank you party. Just drinks and cake for the inner circle. Ethan hesitated. I could see the wheels turning. He didn't want to bother. But then I played my trump card, his ego. I just want everyone to know what an amazing husband I have, I said, fluttering my eyelashes. My dad mentioned he didn't feel like he got enough time to talk to you. And I want to show your dad that we're starting our marriage off on the right foot. I want to make a toast to you. Ethan's face lit up. He couldn't resist the bait. He adored being praised. He lived for the image of the perfect son and husband. That's actually a really sweet idea, Chloe, he said. My dad would love that. He loves feeling important. Great, I said. I'll start texting people. Can you call your parents and the guys? Sure thing, he said. I walked into the bathroom and turned on the faucet, needing a moment to breathe. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes looked cold and hard. Okay, I thought. Phase 1 is complete. I sat on the edge of the bathtub and began sending out the invitations. First, I texted the guests of honor. I invited Ethan's parents, Walter and Sylvia. They were formal, traditional people who valued their reputation above all else. This was going to mortify them. I invited his buddies from the auto shop he co-owned, Mike, Dave, and Steve. They were a loud, boisterous crew who idolized Ethan. They would be the chorus for his public shaming. Then I texted Megan. Hey, bestie, spontaneous get-together tonight at the inn, 7 p.m. Ethan and I want to give you a special thank you gift for being such an incredible maid of honor. Don't be late. XOXO. Her reply came back in less than a minute. OMG, you guys are the sweetest. I'll be there. Can't wait to see you. Love you. I stared at the screen. A special gift. Oh, she was getting a gift, all right. She was probably expecting a piece of jewelry or a spa day. She had no idea what was coming. I spent the afternoon pretending to get ready. I told Ethan I needed to go to the venue early to set up a few decorations. "You just relax," I told him. "Arrive at 7 with your parents. I want everything to be perfect." "You work too hard, babe," he said, barely looking up from his phone. "But okay, see you there." I left the hotel and drove straight back to the Willow Creek Inn. Mr. Davies was waiting. He had the private room ready. It was a smaller, more intimate space than the main hall, typically used for rehearsal dinners. There was a single long table, and at the head of the room, a large white projection screen had been pulled down. "Did you bring the file?" Mr. Davies asked. "Yes," I said, handing him the USB drive. He plugged it into a laptop connected to the projector. "Let's test it," he said. He clicked the file, and the grainy image of the service hallway filled the screen. It was massive. Every detail was visible. The curl of the cigarette smoke, the smug smirk on Ethan's face. "Turn the volume up," I said. "All the way." Mr. Davies cranked the speakers. Ethan's voice boomed through the empty room. Grateful for the tiniest scraps. It was loud. It was clear. It was perfect. "Pause it at the beginning," I instructed. "Keep the screen black until they're all here. I want to introduce it." "You got it," Mr. Davies said. He looked at me with a newfound respect. "You're a strong woman, Chloe. Most people would have just run away." "Running away doesn't solve the problem," I said. "It just leaves it for the next victim." I set the table myself. I placed a vase of white roses in the center. I arranged the place cards. Ethan at the head of the table. Megan right next to him. I put my own place card on the other side, but I wouldn't be sitting. Then I placed my empty wedding ring box on the table in front of my seat. It was a prop for the final act. At 6:45 p.m., my parents arrived. My dad looked like a pressure cooker about to explode. He was wearing a suit, but his fists were clenched so tight his knuckles were white. "Dad," I warned him quietly, "not yet. You have to promise me you will stay calm until the video is over." "I promise," he grunted, "but it's taking every ounce of willpower I have." My mom just hugged me, her hands like ice. "We are right here with you, honey." At 6:55 p.m., young Megan swept in. She looked incredible in a slinky red dress, far too glamorous for a casual get-together, but that was Megan. She reeked of expensive perfume. "Chloe," she squealed, rushing over to embrace me. I let her hug me. I felt her arms, the arms of the woman who had kissed my husband, wrapped around me. A wave of pure revulsion was so strong I almost shoved her away, but I held my ground. "Hi, Megan," I said brightly. "You look beautiful." "Where's the happy couple?" she asked, glancing around. "Ethan's coming with his parents," I said. "Please, sit. I've ordered champagne." At 7 p.m. on the dot, the door opened. Ethan walked in, flanked by his parents. Walter Vance was a tall, stern-looking man. Sylvia Vance was small and fidgety. Ethan radiated confidence in a crisp polo shirt and slacks, the very picture of the successful suburban husband. "Here they are," Ethan announced grandly, "the best in-laws in the world." He walked over and kissed my cheek. "Hey, beautiful," he said. My skin crawled. "Everyone, please find your seats," I said, my voice steady. "Thank you all so much for coming on such short notice." The guests settled in. Ethan took his seat at the head of the table. Megan sat beside him. They shared a quick, secret, self-satisfied glance that screamed, "We are so clever." Ethan's friends from the shop ambled in, grabbing beers and joking loudly. "Speech! Speech!" Mike yelled, hoisting his bottle. I walked to the front of the room, positioning myself next to the blank projection screen. I held a small remote control in my hand. The chatter died down. All eyes were on me. Ethan was smiling, leaning back in his chair like a king holding court, his arm resting casually near Megan's. "I wanted to bring you all here tonight because I truly value honesty," I began. My voice was calm and measured. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even shaking anymore. I value clarity. Ethan always says he loves building a future, that he values stability. Ethan nodded, raising his glass to me. "That's right, babe." And last night, I continued, something happened that gave me an incredible amount of clarity about our future. I realized that words are one thing, but actions speak much louder, and sometimes we miss things. Sometimes we don't see what's happening right in front of our eyes. "Chloe, you're making me blush," Ethan laughed. "So," I said, my finger hovering over the play button on the remote, "I wanted to share a very special private moment from our wedding night. A moment that I believe perfectly captures who Ethan really is. And who Megan is, too." Megan smiled, clearly expecting a heartwarming photo montage. "Ethan," I said, looking him dead in the eye, "this is for you." I pressed the button. The room plunged into semi-darkness as the projector lit up the screen. At first, there was only the silent, grainy image of the back hallway. Ethan chuckled nervously. "What is this? A blooper reel?" "Just watch," I said. Then the audio crackled to life. The speakers were excellent. The sound of a Zippo lighter flicking open was sharp and loud. On screen, Ethan walked into the frame and leaned against the wall. "Is the coast clear?" Megan's voice echoed through the silent room. In the real world, the real Megan dropped her fork. It clattered loudly against her plate. Her face went ashen. She stared at the screen, then at me, then at Ethan, her eyes wide with terror. Ethan's smile faltered. He squinted at the screen. "Chloe, turn this off. This isn't funny." "I'm not laughing," I said. On the screen, the video versions of Ethan and Megan began to kiss. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Ethan's mother, Sylvia, pressed a hand to her throat. "Oh my heavens," she whispered. Ethan shot to his feet. "Okay, joke's over. Technical difficulties. Turn it off." He started to lunge for the laptop, but my dad stood up. "My father is a large man." He simply stepped into Ethan's path and crossed his arms over his chest. He didn't say a word, just glared at Ethan with a look that promised a world of pain if he took another step. Ethan froze. He looked wildly around the room. "Mom, Dad, this is fake. It's edited. It's AI. I never did that." "Quiet," his father, Walter, barked. Walter's face was like granite. "Sit down and watch." Ethan collapsed back into his chair, looking like a cornered animal. The video played on. The kiss ended, and the plotting began. "We stick to the plan," video, Ethan said. "We go on the honeymoon. I play the doting husband. On Tuesday, we sign the papers for the condo." I watched Ethan's face contort, shifting from red to a sickly gray. He knew he was trapped. It was his voice, his face, his plan. Then I start the arguments. I become distant. I make her life a living hell. Ethan's friends from the shop had stopped drinking. They were looking at each other, deeply uncomfortable. Even they knew this was beyond the pale. Then came the line that shattered the room's composure. "She's boring, she's predictable, and she is completely under my control." On the screen, Megan giggled. "You're a bad man." "I'm a smart man," Ethan corrected her. The video ended with their declarations of love for each other. The screen went black. The silence in the room was absolute, heavy, and suffocating. I broke it. "I guess I'm not so predictable after all." Ethan looked up, his eyes wild with desperation. "Chloe, baby, please. Let me explain. It was just talk. It was a stupid, drunken moment. It meant nothing." "You weren't drunk," I said calmly. You were calculating. You had a 6-month timeline to break me down and steal half of my inheritance. No, I love you, he shouted, reaching for my hand across the table. I recoiled. I reached into my pocket and took out my wedding ring. The diamond glittered coldly under the lights. It was the ring he'd used to seal the deal. I placed it gently on the table in front of him. It made a small, final click. This marriage is over, I said. It hasn't even lasted a full day. I am filing for an annulment first thing Monday morning. You will sign the papers. You will not contest it. And you will never, ever come near me or my property again. You can't do this, Ethan yelled. We're married. You can't just throw this all away over one mistake. One mistake? It was Walter Sawyer, Ethan's father, who spoke. He rose slowly to his feet. He looked at his son with an expression of pure, unadulterated disgust. You plotted to commit fraud and steal from this woman, Walter said, his voice low and trembling with rage. You have humiliated this family. You have behaved like a common criminal. Dad, she's overreacting, Ethan pleaded. Get out, Walter said. What? Get out! Walter roared, slamming his fist on the table so hard the plates jumped. Get out of my sight! You are a disgrace! Ethan looked at his mother. She was weeping silently into her napkin, refusing to meet his eyes. He looked at his friends. They stared at the ceiling, the floor, anywhere but at him. He looked at Megan. She was staring at her lap, her face a blotchy mess. Finally, he looked at me. The mask was gone. The nice guy had vanished. All that was left was pure, venomous hatred. You're crazy, he spat at me. You're a psycho. Maybe, I smiled faintly. But I still have my condo, and you have nothing. Ethan stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. Megan stood up, shaking. I should go too. Yes, I said, you should. And Megan? She stopped, looking terrified. Don't text me, I said. Don't call me. Don't even think about trying to explain. You were my best friend. And you laughed while he called me boring. You are a truly awful person. Goodbye. She fled from the room sobbing. The moment the door closed behind her, I felt my strength give out. I sank into the nearest chair. My dad was there in an instant, wrapping his big, strong arms around me. My mom joined the hug. We stood there together for a long time. The room was quiet again, but it wasn't a heavy, suffocating silence anymore. It was the peaceful quiet that comes after a violent storm has finally passed. The following weeks were a blur of legal paperwork, but it was all surprisingly smooth. Ethan signed the annulment papers without a fight. He didn't dare contest it. He knew that if he pushed back, I wouldn't hesitate to release that video to the entire world. I'd send it to his new boss. I'd send it to every woman he ever tried to date. He knew finally that I held all the power. So he signed, and he vanished. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that he sold his share of the auto shop and moved to another state, unable to face the fallout in our small town. His friends had told everyone. Megan didn't move, but she might as well have. Our entire circle of friends cut her off completely. No one wants to be friends with the woman who conspires with the groom to betray the bride. She became a social pariah overnight. Occasionally, I'll see her in the grocery store. She'll duck her head and quickly steer her cart down another aisle. I don't feel happy when I see her run. I don't feel sad. I just feel nothing. I moved back into my condo. The first night alone, there was strange. I kept half expecting to see Ethan's shoes by the door or his legal pad on the coffee table. But the space was just empty. It was all mine. I spent the entire weekend on a cleaning frenzy. I scrubbed the floors, washed the curtains, and rearranged all the furniture. I was trying to physically scrub his toxic energy out of my home. By Sunday evening, the apartment smelled of lemon and lavender. I sat on my sofa with a cup of tea, looking out at the city lights. It was quiet. For so long, I had feared this kind of quiet. I'd equated silence with loneliness, with failure. That's why I'd let Ethan rush into my life. I was so desperate to fill the silence with noise and promises. But now, sitting there with a paid-off roof over my head and my dignity reclaimed, I had an epiphany. Peace is quiet. Safety is quiet. I hadn't lost a husband. I had excised a parasite. I had escaped a meticulously laid trap that would have devastated my life. My parents come for dinner every Sunday now. My dad still gets a vein in his forehead when Ethan's name is mentioned, so we mostly avoid the topic. We talk about my students. We talk about my dad's garden. We talk about real, solid things. I am 33 years old. I am single. I am a teacher. And I am the sole proprietor of my own life. Ethan thought I should be grateful for the scraps of affection he tossed my way. He was wrong. I am the whole meal. And I am done sharing my table with people who are trying to starve me. So that's my story, and I know there are people watching this who might be feeling that same loneliness I felt. Maybe you're sitting in a quiet apartment right now, wishing for someone to fill the space. Maybe you've met someone who seems too perfect to be true. Maybe they're moving too fast, talking about shared futures and shared assets before they even know your middle name. Please trust your gut. If something feels off, it is off. If they make you feel like you're lucky to have them, run. If they try to separate you from your friends and family, fight back. And most importantly, never let anyone convince you that you are boring simply because you are stable. Never let anyone make you believe you are predictable just because you are kind. Kindness is not a weakness, and silence is not stupidity. Ethan underestimated me because I was quiet. He never realized that when you're quiet, you listen to everything, you see everything, and when the time comes, you can strike back with more force than the loudest person in the room. If you've ever been underestimated, or if you've survived a betrayal like this one, share your story in the comments. I want to know I'm not alone. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you want to hear more stories about people taking back their power, please like and subscribe. We all need to stick together. We need to remind each other that we are not victims. We are survivors. Stay safe, stay smart, and never, ever settle for scraps.